There are moments in rock history when the world seems to stop, take a deep breath, and listen.
What you thought was your daddy was nothing but
The early 90s was one of those moments. Grunge wasn't just a sound, it was an awakening. And at the center of it all, standing against the spotlight, yet commanding it entirely, was Pearl Jam. In a sleepy, grey Seattle, drenched in rain and restlessness, a handful of musicians were about to change the world. Not by chasing fame, but by rejecting it. Before Pearl Jam was even a name, there was tragedy. The story begins with Mother Love Bone, a promising Seattle band fronted by the flamboyant Andrew Wood. Their mix of glam and grit had them on the verge of breaking through, but just as success neared, Andrew overdosed, 1 month before their debut album's release. His friends, guitarist Stone Gossard and bassist Jeff Ament, were devastated. But grief often birthed something new. They started jamming again, quietly, with no real plan, and soon found themselves joined by Mike McCready, a guitarist whose playing could make a room levitate. They recorded some rough tracks, sent them out, and waited. Thousands of miles away in San Diego, a young gas station attendant named Eddie Vedder pressed play on a demo cassette. Inside, he heard Destiny. He wrote lyrics to the songs, recorded his haunting vocals over them, and mailed the tape back. When the band heard it, they knew instantly. This was their voice. The newly formed group, now called Mookie Blaylock, played their first shows around Seattle. But soon, the name changed to Pearl Jam, a mix of myth, family, and wordplay that captured their mix of warmth and chaos. In 1991, they released their debut album, 10. No one was prepared for what happened next. From the first riff of Once, to the soaring spiritual ache of Alive, to the anthem of disillusionment in Jeremy, 10 hit like lightning. It was both deeply personal and universally understood, a soundtrack for lost souls in a cynical world. Pearl Jam didn't just play music, they embodied it. They were raw, unfiltered, unpredictable. Eddie's voice, a baritone storm, carried pain, defiance, and hope all at once. McCready's solos screamed with the ghost of Hendrix. Gossard and Ament built a wall of sound that felt both ancient and brand new. But success is a strange beast. 10 sold millions, and suddenly the band was everywhere, on magazine covers, MTV rotations, and arena stages. Yet inside, they were uneasy. Fame wasn't what they wanted. The spotlight felt toxic. While other bands rode the wave of fame, Pearl Jam tried to swim against it. They refused to make glossy music videos. They battled Ticketmaster, accusing the company of exploiting fans with high prices. They chose small venues, handwritten tickets, and honesty over profit. It was a rebellion few artists dared to make at their peak. But it cost them. The press called them difficult. Their tour logistics became a nightmare. Still, they stood their ground. For the fans, for the principle, for the music. Their next albums, VS and Vitalogy, captured this inner war. Songs like Daughter,
Don't call me daughter, not bitter, not picture.
Elderly Woman Behind the Counter in a Small Town,
I swear I recognize your breath.
and Corduroy,
I don't wanna take what you can give. I'd rather starve than eat your bread.
were raw snapshots of a band refusing to sell its soul. Rolling Stone wrote, "Few bands in history have fought fame this hard, and sounded this good doing it." Behind the scenes, Pearl Jam was changing. Drummers came and went. Dave Cruzan, Dave Abruzzese, Jack Irons, each adding their own pulse. And the grunge scene itself began to crumble. In 1994, Kurt Cobain's death sent shockwaves through the entire movement. Pearl Jam mourned their friend and peer. Seattle suddenly felt like a ghost town, haunted by its own success. But through the pain, the band found purpose. They became advocates for mental health, for activism, for survival. They wrote songs like Given to Fly, Do the Evolution, and Wish List, songs that looked beyond anger toward something almost spiritual. Vedder once said, "We've all got scars. The only way to heal them is to keep playing." By the late 90s, grunge had faded from mainstream radio. But Pearl Jam didn't fade. They evolved. They experimented, collaborated with Neil Young, released live bootlegs so fans could relive every moment. They became one of the first bands to release every single concert officially, long before streaming made it easy. Their fans, the 10 Club, became a global family. At their shows, thousands sang every lyric as if it were gospel. And in 2000, tragedy struck again. During a festival in Roskilde, Denmark, 9 fans were crushed in the crowd. The band was shattered. They almost quit. But the silence that followed only deepened their bond. When they returned to the stage, they played not just for themselves, but for everyone who had ever found solace in their music.
The 2000s brought maturity. Albums like Binaural, Riot Act, and Pearl Jam showed a band at peace with its scars. Songs like I Am Mine and Love Boat Captain explored reflection over rage. They continued their activism, campaigning for social causes, political justice, and environmental awareness. They weren't just musicians anymore. They were mentors, survivors, and symbols of integrity in an industry built on illusion. When they were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2017, it wasn't just an award. It was a recognition of endurance. Pearl Jam had done what almost no band from that era did. They endured. More than 30 years later, Pearl Jam still fills stadiums, still sweats on stage, still speaks for the misfits, the dreamers, the ones who never quite fit in. Eddie Vedder's voice has aged like weathered leather, cracked but strong. McCready's solos still roar like thunder. And the crowd, they still sing like it's 1992. Because Pearl Jam was never about chasing trends. They were about truth. And in a world that's forgotten how to listen, they remind us that honesty, even if it's loud, messy, or uncomfortable, still matters. Pearl Jam didn't just survive the rise and fall of grunge. They outlived it, transcended it, defined it. Because Pearl Jam isn't just a band. They're a heartbeat that refuses to fade.